All right, come here, check this out. So if you watched the last lesson, you should be able to understand, maybe you can't do it just yet, but you should be able to understand how to do things like this. That was one lesson back where I taught 4-note per string tapping, or you can think about it as 3-note per string on the left hand, using those anchor shapes that we had learned in even a more previous lesson. And then taking those anchor shapes and then finding places to tap with the right hand. Now in this lesson, what I want to show you is a little bit easier way to tap, where you could just use 2 notes on the left hand and then 1 note on the right hand. And you can do that by finding places in the anchor shapes where you can just go ahead and leave a note out. Kind of think about it like doing a diatonic scale and then changing it to a hexatonic or a pentatonic scale by removing 1 or 2 notes. You're basically doing that with this, and you're just looking at these shapes and saying, well, these notes fit. If we remove this one, then the notes that are left still fit. So if we look at the 5th, the 7th, and the 8th frets, then of course I can leave out the 8th fret, for instance. Then I got a 2-note shape there, just playing the 5 and the 7 on both the 6th and the 5th strings. The octave of that would be on the 4th and the 3rd strings. Instead of playing 7, 8, 9, 7, 8, 9, we'll just play 7, 9, 7, 9. And then on the 2nd and the 1st strings, instead of playing 10, 12, 13, 10, 12, 13, we'll just play 10, 12, 10, 12. And then the note we leave off, that could be the note we tap. So the 6th string, we play this. 5th string, this. I'm just tapping on the 8th fret. So I can go ahead and play. And then the same thing on the 4th and the 3rd. And then the same thing on the 1st and the 2nd. So basically all I'm doing there is I'm just playing the scale up and back. I'm basically playing 5, 7, I tap, and then I play back to 7, 5, and I play 7, and I go to the 5th string, I play 5, 7, tap, I go back to 5, back to the 6th string, 7, back to 5, back to 7, tap. Like that, then I'm just tapping. Tap, up the scale. Now, of course, in the 2nd shape, where it locks in, you have the 7, the 8, and the 10. I can also tap on the 10th fret of these, but keep the left hand doing the same thing. And then on the 4th and the 3rd strings, we have the lock in at the 9, the 10, and the 12. So I can tap on the 12. So I can play the 7 and the 9, tap on the 12. Don't forget all your little nuances you got to do, where you flick, click, hammer on. Make these things make noise. We can go up with that. And go back to the 3-note pattern, the original pattern. Little transition here, I gotta take my ring finger, go back to the 5th string and the 7th fret, and then tap. Walking up the scale, index finger is going to land on the 4th string and the 7th fret. Don't forget the higher note we can play. This one's going to be on the 5th and the 6th string. We're going to play at the 10th fret. Then of course we can throw the 2nd and the 1st string in there as well, playing 10 and 12, tapping on the 13th. And if you remember from the scale, we can go ahead and play the anchor that fits in there. We can play the 12, the 13, and the 15. So I can also tap on the 15. Then I can back up. Takes a little bit to get used to backing up, but we can back up. Training that right hand to hit those right notes does take a minute. Takes a minute. I've been working on it for about a year. So that's a pattern that I've never actually played before. I was just playing around with that just to see what it sounds like. But that's pretty cool. Jumping up the strings. Now, you might be thinking to yourself that that's a little hard, and why would you even bother with doing that? Because there are ways to transition into that a lot better. But the reason I like showing stuff like that, and I like playing with things like that, is because I like to take the more difficult things and just see if I can work them out. Because if I can work them out, then what that allows me to do is play the easier things even easier. Because if you can play this harder stuff, if you can go ahead and figure out, well, man, I got to jump from here to here to here, then it's going to be a whole lot easier to jump from here, then stay on the 6th and the 5th string, guide up, guide to the 4th and the 3rd strings, guide up, guide to the 2nd and the 1st strings, and then guide back and do it in box patterns and box shapes. A whole lot easier to do that because you can do that. Okay, so we can go ahead and take the idea there and just play up the scale instead of having to move in a diagonal fashion. I can go ahead and play that 5 and that 7 and that 10, play that there, the 6th and the 5th string, find 2 more notes that would work, in this case the 7 and the 8. We can stay on the 10, or I can go to the next note that works right, which would be the 12. I could go there. And from there, it's easy to jump to that 4th and that 3rd string octave because you're already in that box. We'll get to stay on the 12. Go up to the 9 and the 10. Play the 14. Go up to the 2nd and the 1st string. I'm in that box. Easy for me to jump to that 10th and 12th frets. Back to that 3rd and 4th strings. So you see there's all kinds of ways that you can connect these things. We can also go ahead and use the 2 notes that are on the outer side of either shape. We can play, instead of playing the 5th and the 7th, I can play the 5th and the 8th. 5th and 8th, and I can still hit that 10. I can still hit that 12. Train your pinky. You'll probably feel like, I know a lot of people do this, so you'll probably feel like that it might be more comfortable to use the ring finger, but use your pinky on this because it's going to help you strengthen your pinky when you play. Then we can jump up to that octave, which is on the 5th and the 4th strings, play at the 12th fret, or play at the 14th fret. go up to the second and the first strings at the 10 and the 13, playing the 15 or the 17. Walking backwards. There's all kinds of cool stuff in there. And then of course I can connect that, going keeping with that idea of playing on the outer ends of each shape, instead of playing on the 5th and the 8th of the 5th and the 6th strings. I could play on the 7th and the 10th, and then tap on the 12th, and then the 14th will also fit here on the 6th string. So I can go ahead and play this. So now you got a little run where you can play like this. Then of course, because I'm here, I can go ahead and jump into that 4th and that 3rd string at 7, 10, 12. 14. Move up, in this case on the 4th and the 3rd, to the 9 and the 12. Still play the 14. But the 16 would work as well. Move up in the scale, playing on the 3rd string at that 9, 12, to 10, 13 on the 2nd and 1st strings, playing at the 15 with my tap, or the 17, move up to the 12 and the 15, 17, or the 19. So all kinds of great ways to connect these, thinking about it in terms of the scale shapes, leaving out a couple of notes or doing all 3 notes at the same time with the left hand. However you do it, however you play with it, the idea here is to think in terms of diagonal shapes and also linear stair-step shapes that allow you to move from one pattern to the next. And you don't have to go all the way from the 6th string to the 1st string. I've just been showing you all kinds of crazy licks where you can go from the low on the fretboard to the high on the fretboard and play all kinds of really cool, slick stuff, right? You know, impressive. But you don't have to do that. You can stay on the 1st and the 2nd strings and think about where the scale shapes fit and where you can tap and come up with all kinds of just 1st string, 2nd string runs all the way up and down the fretboard. There's all kinds of stuff in here. The possibilities are endless. So what you have to do is just continue playing with these ideas, but understanding those anchor shapes and how you can also tap within those anchor shapes, find shapes within those anchor shapes, and all kinds of cool stuff. It just allows you to open up your world to what the fretboard actually has to offer, because there's so much stuff in there that a lot of people just don't realize. There's a world in there that there's virtuosos out there right now still finding things and ways to express themselves that nobody has ever done before. As always, thanks for checking out the lesson. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. I got lessons out here every Sunday and Wednesday lately in 2025. Let me know, what was your first song that you ever learned? A lot of people learned things like Iron Man, Smoke on the Water, China Grove. What was the first song that you ever learned on guitar? And then how did that inspire you to keep going? Like, what was it about that song that made you want to learn it? And then how did it inspire you to keep going? Don't forget that I do have a 7-day free course out there. It's at justpickuptheguitarandgo.com. It's a 7-day free course that will help you unlock the fretboard so you can play with confidence and ease, train your fingers to where you want them to go on the fretboard, and understand the scale shapes in a very intuitive way so that you can go ahead and gravitate back towards places that will allow you to say, okay, I'm here. I can feel how it sounds and I can hear how it sounds. So without looking at the fretboard, I know that I can move from here to here, then to here, then to here, then to here, then to here, to here, and I'm all the way up the fretboard, but I'm still within key, and I'm still playing the right scale shapes, and I'm playing the things that I want to play. The only thing that you would add to that is, various shapes like your harmonic minors and your different modes and things like that. But once you get that basic foundation laid down, then you open up that world of possibilities. So get that 7-day free course at justpickuptheguitarandgo.com, and I'll see you in the next one.